But let's start to work on the first file. And in fact, let me rename this file, and I'm going to call it data preparation, data prep. And in data prep, what I would like to do is upload first the. I would like to get the information from the websites. So let's say I'm going to store the website address here in an URL. So I have an URL for the metadata. I should have another URL for the well production. And I should have another URL for the hydraulic fractures information. So let's go onto the website and let's get those URLs. So obviously, one thing that I can do is I can go straight into this link and download the file into my file or into my system. But what I would like to do here is be able to have a direct link to this file, so that in the future, if I want to just run with the updated hyperlink to download the file, I might be able to do it straight away. Of course, they might change the actual link, but I think they usually don't do that. They just replace the unupdated the same file. So if I copy that link address, and this case is for the hydraulic fracture information, I'm going to put it in here. So that's the first link. And this is just a text. I'm not doing anything fancy there, just copying and pasting some text. I know that the next file would be my production data from conventional wells. So I'm going to focus only on unconventional wells. In fact, there is all the data for all the production wells in a monthly basis for the whole wells in Argentina. But that's a lot of information, and it's in different files, and it will take us a lot of time just to concatenate all that data and to put it in a meaningful way. Probably we'll need a database at the end of the day because the data is too large. So I'm going to concentrate on the unconventional wells that they have been producing probably for less than 10 years, and it's only monthly production data. So let's copy this link, and I'm going to go back into my well production data here. And the last link that I'm going to copy, it's the list of wells. Okay. And I believe that this is the link for the list of wells. Now, one thing that we can do is use Pandas straight away. So let's use a Pandas library. I guess you might struggle to see the screen. Would that be helpful, probably? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to import Pandas to read the CSV files. These are purely CSV files into Python. And one thing that I'm going to show you here, it's a way to see live while you are writing your code. You can debug the data in Visual Studio. So let's load the first file in a data frame called let's say metadata, and I'm going to use Pandas to read my CSV. And in this case, I'm going to use this link straight away. And if I do that, let's do this also for the well production. let's take advantage of the auto-completion. And the final one, it's the hydraulic fracture information. And we're going to take this URL information. Okay. So that's fine. And let's use a print here for a second. One thing that you can do in Visual Studio Code is I'm going to put a breakpoint here. A breakpoint is I can run the code and stop at that point and then do an inspection on the variables that I have declared previously. So if I go into run and instead of running straight away the code, I'm going to just start a debugging. And I'm going to do this is a Python file. Okay, let's see if that works. Right. I think now it's reading the data, and this is going to take a bit of time. And in fact, I may want to stop this for a moment, because once I want to read the data, but I want to store the data straight away once I have it on memory. So if I have this data in memory, perhaps the best thing to do is write it to my computer. So write it to the same folder where I'm working. In this case, this folder. And this is the metadata.csv. I'm going to have the well production data. And I'm going to store it in a production.csv. And finally, the hydraulic fractures. I'm going to start to save this to my hydraulic fracture.csv. So a more, let's say, a cleaner way to do this would be to write a function that does the same thing for the tree. So if I rewrite a bit this to make a cleaner code, let's do a function here where I'm going to call it, this is my data reader data download and read. Right. Actually, Data IO, I'm going to call it. And I will need a URL. I'm going, and also the name of the file that I want to save to. File name. In fact, they should have been quotes, because they should have been strings. Okay, but we're going to replace all that. So let's say I have these three URLs, which I'm going to put here is in a URL paste. This is my URL 1, 2, and 3. And also we can do the file names is equal to these three file names. Okay, let's read those three files. Okay, so and my function will be read a CSV. So a data frame, I'm going to read a CSV of this URL name, URL, let's equal URL. Don't know why it's being put blue, but let's see if there is any problem. So this is URL. And finally, what I want to do is to write the file name. So I'm going to write that data frame to the file name. So let's say a few lines of code. I won't need this anymore. So it's a bit clean. Then I can call that function for I and item in. Let's use enumerate for a second. And so I want to iterate on the list. And what we want to do is basically execute this. Okay, so as I go through a list, let's execute that that little function. So now I am going to put URL instead of URL. I'm going to pass this item, and instead of I have file names. So file names, I'm going to use an index. So I know for everyone I have a file name that I will pass it along. So let's see how that works. And in fact, I'm going to go back to my folders. I'm going to run it. And while it's running, what I'm going to do now, I don't know why it's doing that. So while it's running, oh, I forgot to put the column here. Okay. Let me run it again. What's happening? Let me see if in my virtual environment here. Hold on a second. PAG environment code. That should be the one. No module name Pandas. Oh, that's not good. .7. Just a second. There's some issue here. Let me try this one. Okay, so that's working. Right, so while that is running, because that's going to take a while, but at some point we will see that the files will be written here. So we're pulling the data from the website and saving the CSV files in there. I am going to do the other part of this is just data prep. I may do another file which is let's call it data cleaning. Data clean. Okay, as you can see, it's starting to write the files. So this is data clean. PY. And there are a few things that we want to do there. So I want to use that file, metadata file. And so again, I'm going to use import pandas as PD. And then we can use a similar code that we have used here to read the file. But so we're going to call the first file df metadata, and df metadata is equal to pd.read, same thing. I'm going to repeat it ourselves here a bit, and let's bring metadata.csv. But now I'm not downloading the data. I'm just going to work with my local file. So if I ever need to update a file from the website, I can run the other data preparation one. So I'm going to have a data production, which is pd.read_csv. And I'm not quite sure how I call it, production.csv. And finally, df_hydraulic fractures, pd.read_csv. And then this is going to be my hydraulic fractures.csv wells. So fine. So I should, whenever I have a files here ready, I should be able to see the files. At the moment, it's still running. As you can see, I have run Python here, and it's still running. It's the console has not come back, so I guess that is still downloading. In particular, the production data that is just over 50 megabytes. It's not quite massive because we're talking about the frequency of a production. It's a monthly basis and not daily basis. But once we have the files, I'm going to do, I have done quite a few other things that I'm going to probably skip. Well, let me show you what I have here. So let me print first the columns, and let me do a print here while this is doing the work. And let me bring just the metadata. I'm not quite sure if, because we're locked, if I can start another debugging session here. Let me see. Okay. The clean file. File not found. Metadata. Oh. Metadata. Oh, misspelled. Okay. This file should have been called metadata. We can explore the file there, but it's really not nice, and I really don't like to open Excel for these sessions. But you can see some of the columns that you have in there. So, but what we really can do is let me run again the debugger. Okay, the production data is there, it's ready. I'm going to put a breakpoint here. And the idea of a breakpoint is if I hover on df_md data, I should be able to see some information about that variable. I'm not quite sure why it's not showing. Let me see if it should be here. That variable should be here. Okay, here it is. Here it is. So I have a data frame, df_md, and you can see more or less the structure of the data there. So you have IDs of the wells, you have some well names, so you have name of the companies, and as you can see, everything is in Spanish. And what I have done to help a bit with the preparation of the data, I have some dictionary. Let me show you the dictionary. let's carry on here. So I have this dictionary, which basically has so a bit of a conversion between the ID in the, or the name of a column in Spanish, and the name of a column in English. So this is all stored in a dictionary. And if I want to rename all those columns, I can go over that data frame underscore MD, and I can rename. And I can use a dictionary with in this way, columns, dictionary, df1, so data frame 1. And in fact, this is a dictionary. Let's call it the dictionary for this one is this one. Actually, let me copy it and paste it in. So this is a dictionary. Let's call it the meta. And this is a dictionary meta. So far so good. So please, yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. What I can do also is, as I'm executing this renaming, I can do it in place directly here. So in this case, my dictionary columns will be replaced straight away. Otherwise, I will have to do I would have to do something like this. And I won't use in place. So it's either that or you use in place. So whenever I have it in place, I usually tend to use in place straight away. So if I run that, let's go to a folder. I should have already all those files. And what I'm going to do is show you the name of the columns, so I can print. If I go into MD and I go into columns, I can print. Oh, let me right here. Sorry. Somehow it got into Python here. Okay, let me run it here. So here it is. So I have all the names of all the columns. And so I just took some of those, not all of them. I just took ID of a well name, longitude, latitude, the reservoir type, basin, concession, within the basin, elevation, depth, and dates. There are so many other, let's say, metadata information, like initial oil, gas, initial gas, and initial water. Might be some of those informations might be interesting to pull, but I'm not quite sure what is when they say initially, if it's the day one or if it's stabilized. So there is a bit of context that I need to understand. But these, at least I know what they mean with those set of information. So I have that, and the other thing that I'm going to do, it's for that particular file, what I would like to do is also export a shorter file only with these columns. So I'm going to create a variable called kept columns. And for that, I'm going to use list comprehension. So I'm going to call it kept call underscore meta. So these are my columns, my metadata columns. And the way I'm going to do it is, so I can go and iterate over the dictionary, this dictionary meta. And I would like to get just the the key. I would like to get these columns, and this obviously have to happen after I rename the columns. So for X in the dictionary. So for each item in the dictionary, I want to take each item, and I'm going to take, in this case, the item is pretty much a key, and I can evaluate the key and get the column name. So and ultimately, I can then write the following. My DFMD, it's going to equal to itself, but only with a kept call method. I'm going to keep only those columns, making the file slightly lighter. And ultimately, what I also would like to do is export the version of that file that will be there, almost like the English version of the file. So I'm going to call it the FMD to CSV, and I'm going to call it metadata underscore English.csv. Okay, so if I run this file, and while I run that file, let me fix a small issue that I have here. So this should have been called metadata. I already fixed it manually. So very small file. So now there I have my metadata in English. And as you can see here, it has ID well name, longitude, latitude, resort type, basing, and so on and so on. And I only have those columns, the ones that I'm interested at the moment. So I need to do the same with the production data. And I need to do the same with the hydraulic fracture data. For the sake of time, I'm not going to bother you with that, with all the details of how I did it. Again, we can write a bit of a function to pull the dictionary. So if I wrap this into a function and call it data cleaning, and I need to get the data frame name, and I need to get the dictionary name, call it df name, the dictionary name, and I need to get also what else? And that's it. I guess a file name as well. So let's put all this inside this function. And I'm going to call this my file name. My df name will be the one that I'm going to pass into the function. And my dictionary name is the one that I'm going to use for the columns that I want to keep in the final file. And that would be it. And this function doesn't return anything. It just saves the file after it's finished. So I want to do that for 3 dictionaries. I have this dictionary of a dictionary meta. I have another dictionary, which is the one for the production data. Let me put it in here. And let's call this dictionary production. And this is just converting everything through, we have a well name here as well, ID of the company, oil production, in Spanish, oil production, gas production. So this is all the conversion that we need in here. And I need also the one for the hydraulic fracture, which is the last one here. So this is the one. So I'm going to create a dictionary, a list of dictionaries, dictionary list, which is going to be equal to my first dictionary of a meta, my second dictionary, which is the prod, and my third dictionary, which is a hydraulic fraction. And this is a dictionary list. That's fine. And let's move this a bit here. And I also need the file names. And similar to the other file that I have here, data prep, I have these file names. I'm going to copy these ones. And I'm going to use underscore English, underscore English, and underscore English to save it, in English with the columns that we want to keep. So for everyone, I'm just going to keep the columns that I have put it in here. So there are many more values here, for instance, in the hydraulic fracture, and we will go into that into a second when we go into a Jupyter notebook. But there are many more items that we can grab. So those are just a few. I'm going to do a for loop, again, similar to the one that I write before. I, an item in, and I'm going to enumerate my dictionary list. Where is my dig list? Dictionary list. Here we go. And obviously what I want to do is perform data cleaning. So that's data cleaning. And in terms of a dictionary name, I'm going to pass the item, which is a dictionary name. In terms of, sorry, the item is a data frame. So in fact, I need a list of the data frame. So let's put a list of data frame as well. Df list is equal to df meta, df metadata, df production, and df hydraulic fraction. Okay, quite a bit of work to get where we want to get, but we will get there. So now we have a df list, we have this, we have the item, and we have the file names. So let's see if I run that. Let's see what happens there. So the metadata file was already there. Okay, I have a production file already there. And there we go. We have a HF, the hydraulic fracture file. So the hydraulic fracture file, as I mentioned, I did well. Now we have everything in English. So the original one has many more columns with everything in Spanish. Okay. So now we can do some more work after the data cleaning. So now another